Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you've been well. Here we have a Ford Bronco and my Sequoia. This is gonna be a random video. It's gonna be about this Ford Bronco here. Primarily just kind of talking about the Bronco, giving a little backstory of myself and the Bronco. If you guys remember, when the Bronco was announced, I was stoked on it. I put in a pre-order, still think it is an awesome vehicle, as we'll talk through today, but it took forever and I ended up not getting one, obviously. But I have one here in front of me. It has a few modifications done to it. This is my buddy Twan. This is kind of one of his, I think it's a company vehicle anyway, because he is now selling parts and working with companies to kind of test fit some parts, develop some of their own parts. So for all things Bronco related and a few other models, I'll put a link down below. Check them out if you're in the market. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, as well as the modifications to the Bronco. Like I said in the beginning, this video is gonna be random. I'm not an automotive car reviewer, but I am around cool cars all the time. Sometimes I'll do rig walkarounds here. And well, this is gonna be the new place for rig walkarounds in the new driveway. Eventually, I'll get it paved. We got the house right here, and then my shop and barn is gonna go right here. So this will all be paved, nice big, a perfect driveway for whoever's rig walkarounds I end up doing here. But today, Bronco, I'm gonna compare the Bronco a little bit with Sequoia. Ashley had to run out. She'll be back with her RAV4. So I'll be comparing it a little bit to the Sequoia and the RAV4. Random comparisons, but those are the two SUVs that I have myself and can kind of speak to. And you know, my audience I know is probably familiar with both of them. So obviously a very different vehicle than either the Rav or the Sequoia, but some things to consider. I'm gonna talk about some things you might consider if you were thinking about purchasing a Bronco and kind of how it would fit into my fleet. I call it a fleet now because I have so many vehicles, it's dumb, but I don't have one. Will I have one in the future? I don't know. Ashley loves them. Isabella loves them even more, especially this one is the soft top. So I'll pop that open for you if I remember. Very, very simple, but yeah, I just kind of want to tease you up for what this video is going to be about. So I think we're going to start with, I'm just going to give some backstory. I'll put chapters down below so you can skip around to whatever you care about. A little bit of backstory, how it might have fit into my fleet, why I put in a pre-order but I don't have one. And then I'll get into talking just features on the Bronco, and then I'll probably compare it real quick to the Sequoia and the Rav, just because. So yeah, click around to whatever you feel like clicking around to, but real quick, thank you to today's sponsor, keeping me healthy, as always, AG1. So AG1 is a product, foundational nutrition. So Ashley and I have this idea that we're gonna start eating healthier, but it's a process and it's gonna be a long process. So in the meantime, AG1 really helps me get all of my daily vitamins and minerals in. It has 75 vitamins and minerals from whole food sources, and it has a ton of benefits naturally. So it helps with energy, helps with focus, clarity, immune support, gut health. It's got all the pre and probiotics in there for you as well. And for me, what I love is I'm always on the move. I'm always doing something. I try to pack 24 hours of work into 12 hours. So I just don't have a ton of spare time to, you know, make healthy things that take hours and hours and hours. I'm trying to find a good tripod here because I just like to set my camera on things, and we're on the spare tire right here. So let me show you all it takes. They have a little bottle. I lost it. I don't know where it is, but 8 ounces of water. You could do more, you could do less if you want, but 8 ounces is kind of the sweet spot here. And then all it takes is just 1 scoop from the bag. You shake it around, and then I just chug it down. So it's pretty good. I've used this descriptor and I still think it's accurate from my taste buds anyways. It's kind of earthy, obviously, a lot of natural ingredients, but kind of like a little bit of a sweet bubblegummy flavor to me as well. Anyway, easy drinking. But yeah, just a super easy daily habit. So thank you again to AG1 for sponsoring this video. They are offering a year's supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free little travel packets you can take on the go to anyone that purchases through the link drinkag1.com/LLOD. So check them out if you're into it. And now back to the Bronco. It's sweet. I think they nailed it on the styling. We've talked about this in the past. I actually have a video a while back. I was one of the first people actually to get hands-on with one of these. I got invited out to an event they were hosting out in Buena Vista, Colorado. I'll link to that up in the corner if I remember. But I loved it then and I still love it now. Nothing has changed except that you see them everywhere now, which, you know, isn't a bad thing. So yeah, a little story time. I put in a pre-order. I watched the launch video, loved it, put in a pre-order that night. And then I also got reached out to by Ford about partaking in, this is all public knowledge. There's been plenty of people that have participated in the program, but to be one of their ambassadors, a Team Bronco ambassador. But kind of what they were looking for in an ambassador with deliverables and everything they were going to do didn't at all line up with what I wanted to do. So that was an opportunity I had that it didn't really feel right. Not like they were doing anything bad. It just didn't line up with what I wanted to do. And so I didn't become an ambassador, but I still had one on pre-order. But what happened was that the launch took so long from when they announced it and when they actually started making them. COVID hit. There was a lot of things that happened. Like I don't necessarily blame Ford or anything for that. But in between when it was launched and I really was stoked about it and when you could actually get one, I'm pretty sure I got married, got actually pregnant, bought this land, started planning to build the house. I probably bought and sold like 3 or 4 vehicles in that time frame, and just kind of my budgetary restraints and my needs shifted. So kind of the vehicle I planned for the Bronco, instead I bought the Tundra because I needed a bigger truck. I was doing a lot of truck stuff and the Bronco just didn't really fit what I was trying to do. And does it fit now? It still doesn't really fit now, and the reason is because now I have a lot of vehicles. If you watch my channel, I'll have the Tundra. I have a 22 Tundra with a 6.5 foot bed. That's kind of what I use for truck duties, whether I'm renting equipment or buying wood or whatever. Here I built this house. We got a truck, like I'm doing stuff. I'm on 15 acres here, and I need a truck for truck stuff. I'd love a Ford F450 or F550. If Ford ever was like, we have a Ford Super Duty, like 1-ton, 2-ton pickup truck ambassadorship, I would jump on that one for sure. But I have the Tundra, and then my main adventure vehicle is over here. It's the Tacoma, and then Ashley has a RAV4. It's not here right now. I have the Sequoia. I have a couple old Land Cruisers. We're going to be talking about the SUVs. I have the Sequoia and the RAV4. They are on different ends of the SUV spectrum. This cost me $7,000. So it's like 1/10 of the price practically of a Bronco. And it does everything that I use it for better than a Bronco. Is it as cool? No. Is it as fast? No. Is it as off-road capable? No. Does the top come off? No. So there's a lot of things that it doesn't do, and I'll talk more in detail of that later. And then Ashley's RAV, I'll talk more on it later, but the RAV is better, easier to park, better fuel economy, all kinds of stuff. So we have two kind of opposite sides, and then this would excel in basically being cool, which is cool. I love cool things, and off-roading. But I have an 80 series Land Cruiser triple locked on 37s that is in most scenarios going to out-wheel this. And then I have my Tacoma on 35s with rooftop tent and truck bed and everything, which I prefer adventuring in a truck versus an SUV. There's just kind of more room for stuff. So is this going to replace the Tacoma? Not really. So it fills a need that I just don't really have right now. Granted, if I was gifted one or had unlimited funds or something, I would love to take it out. I would love to have one because I think they are super, super sweet. So yeah, I had an opportunity to get one. I had a pre-order that I would have got one pretty early on, and I was thinking about still doing it just for like content, right? Just because it would do well on the channel. These have been out so long, there's tens of thousands of videos out there on the Bronco, so I'm not trying to capitalize on buzz or anything like that. It's just one of these things where I have a cool vehicle and I wasn't even thinking about making a video of it. This is actually so real quick, my Tundra is at Running for Tacos. He's working on it. They're putting some rear suspension, doing some other stuff, rear bumper, a few things that I wanted to get wrapped up real quick before Expo. So he's a buddy of mine, Twan, and he usually will let me borrow one of his vehicles when my Tundra's there, because his shop's pretty far away and Ubering back and forth is a pain. So he just lets me borrow a vehicle. And this time he let me borrow this. Sometimes it's the FJ or the 4Runner, his Tacoma, which has a turbo kit now, but this time it was the Bronco. So I said, let's make a video on it. He sent me a list of modifications. I'm just gonna read through it. He texted it to me just so I don't miss anything here in the future when I'm kind of walking through and telling what I like about it. So again, he's selling parts for the Bronco, also F-150 and Ranger, Chevy Colorado, Nissan, Gladiator, kind of everything that's not Toyota on this website, ftcustoms.com. I'll put a link down below, but it's just ftcustom.com. And so this one, he has some products. I'm assuming he's going to be selling most of these products if they're not ever sale on his website, but it has a Bilstein 6112 lift kit in the front and rear, RRW wheels. These have the protection rings, which are kind of the new protection rings, which do look a lot more like bead locks, but these are basically sacrificial rings that you can swap out if you damage them super bad and put on a fresh set. These hybrid wheels, also you can put true bead locks on. So I have Relations race wheels. The H stands for hybrid. I have them on my Tacoma with actual bead locks, but you can run them with bead locks, or you can run them, I have some here. Here they are without bead locks, or here they are with protection rings. Anyway, Relations race wheels, these got 35 1250, I believe, Toyo open country MTs, though Twan says this setup could fit 37s as well. It's got the Alpha X Nova headlights that are pretty sweet. I'll show them to you in a second. Baja designs. He's got some that are going to be going on the roof here soon. He's got some in the bumper down below and some ditch bracket mounted lights there as well. Raptor style grill, which looks so sweet. What else? He's actually kind of comparing two different ditch lights here, bigger ones and smaller ones. So anyway, this is kind of their test mule vehicle, and I was just fortunate enough to borrow it. So let's start with a lot of things I just absolutely love about the Bronco. I think it looks sweet. I think it's about the coolest looking SUV, like modern SUV that you can get. I think it harkens back to the old Broncos pretty well, while still kind of having a modern feel to it. I think the grille is awesome. These headlights are super sweet. Let me see if I can get them to do their dance. These are Alpha Rex. Oh yeah, check that out. And then these are Ambers. Woo, baby. That looks good. I think that the suspension is sweet. They have the electronic disconnecting sway bars, which I wish the Tacomas had, because driving with a sway bar on the road, especially mountain roads, is so much nicer than my basically race truck. I mean, slowest truck in the world, but feels like a race truck just because around every corner you're like, oh, because I don't have sway bars because I took them off on Mo Flex. So electronic disconnecting sway bars is awesome. The modularity, this is a factory bumper. This is one of the Ford's offerings. They have a few different bumpers, and this is one of them, and it's sweet. So the fact that they offer all of these factory options. And then also they clearance this. I love the fender flares. The Bronco Raptors are sweet, but I think the fender flares are super ugly. But this has the Sasquatch package as well, worth mentioning. I just think that I mean, they're super simple, obviously. They kind of look like an AEV Ram fender flares, which I've always loved those. Fender flares look sweet, but there's tons of room in here. You see, like, my Sequoia is the opposite, has tiny little wheel wells. They're like tiniest wheel wells, tiny clearance. These, you basically don't have to do anything to fit 35s. You can fit 35s factory. Fitting 37s is pretty effortless as well. You try to fit 35s on a 4Runner or a Tacoma, you're gonna be doing lots of cutting and doing some stuff with your suspension geometry, but you want to do it on a Bronco, boom, just basically put them on. So that is awesome. You know, it's a Jeep competitor in that it can go topless, it can go doorless. I don't care too much about that, even though Colorado's one of the sunniest states and I could utilize it all the time. I'd be getting sunburn all the time. I'd have to put on sunscreen. I'd be getting cancer, all that stuff. So I don't really care about the top too much, but some people love that. Isabella loves it. I took her to school, picked her up from school in this, and we popped the top effortlessly, very easy. And she's like, "Can this be my first car?" And I was like, "No, girl, you're gonna have a cheap, crappy car like I did, like your mom and I both had when we were growing up." But I do think it's pretty cool that the tailgate, oops, forgot my water bottle was there. Tailgate opens sideways so you can mount stuff here. Little table that comes down. Rear storage space is pretty meh, but I would guess it compares, you know, to a 4Runner or a four-door Wrangler or something like that. Doesn't compare at all to a Sequoia, but it's pretty sweet that back here. You got some things for tie downs. It's not gonna be a super detailed review, more of just kind of my quick impressions, thoughts on the vehicle. So I think it compares obviously a lot to a Wrangler. It's independent front suspension. It's gonna ride a little nicer on the road, but it's not gonna ride quite as, like it doesn't drive as nice as my Tundra. It drives probably similar to a 4Runner, but more power. So in the Toyota world, obviously I have a big Toyota following. This doesn't do things as good as the Sequoia. Certain things the Sequoia excels at. Certain things the RAV4, the imaginary RAV4 here that'll be back later, excels at. But I think this does almost everything better than a current gen Toyota 4Runner. I'll get a lot of hate. I probably got people unsubscribing from me and stuff. But as it pertains to a 4Runner, like size, similar to a 4Runner. Off-road capability, better than a 4Runner. Power, better than a 4Runner. Modern technology, amenities, stuff like that, better than a 4Runner. Fuel economy, I don't know. Fuel economy might be better than a 4Runner. Feature, better than a 4Runner. Price, storage, and stuff like that is pretty similar. 4Runners have a ton of aftermarket support, but the way that Ford built the Bronco, it's hugely modular. So the aftermarket has adopted it really quickly. So then you got what with the 4Runner? I think it's a little cheaper and it's probably more reliable. It's a very reliable vehicle. Are the Broncos as reliable? Out the gate, I don't think it's been the case, and long term probably won't be the case either. So all the Toyota fanatics always talk about reliability. So your 4Runner is probably still going to be more reliable, but other than that, I think the Bronco does most things better. This is just off the cuff. I haven't like jotted this down or thought through it too strongly. But as I was just thinking about talking through the RAV4 and the Sequoia, I was like, how's it compare to what Toyota people would say is its main competition, which is probably a 4Runner? I think it's probably better than a 4Runner in almost every way. Sorry to say. Now, when the 6th gen 4Runner comes out, will it be better? It may be. It's kind of a conversation I could I could have with the 2024 Land Cruiser coming out, though I think I'd probably, depending on price, I'd probably opt for the Lexus GX 550. I think it looks a little, some aspects of it I think look a little better. They're almost the same vehicle, but I think the Lexus might look a little better. It's got the bigger engine. I think it's got the option for third row seating. Without putting a ton of research and thought into it, I'd probably go 550 over the Land Cruiser. I'm bringing this up because the new Land Cruiser is not a true Land Cruiser, it's a Prado. I wish we were getting the LC 300. I had a 200 for a while, LX 570 really. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. I sold it for the Sequoia for some reasons that I talk about in a Sequoia video I did. You can check that out on the channel. But love the 200, would love the 300. It would be expensive. I could get an LX 600, but I really like the styling of the LC 300 better. We're not gonna get it. Toyota gave us the Prado instead, so the baby Land Cruiser. But it's interesting, I got on this tangent because I was talking about 4Runner versus Bronco. The Land Cruiser, in my mind, probably that was what the 4Runner was gonna be. And then Toyota had a lot of backlash on not, this is all speculation, like complete speculation is probably wrong, but in my mind, they got a lot of backlash for killing the Land Cruiser, and they're like, we should bring the Land Cruiser back. What? But we're not gonna bring the 300. Could we bring the Prado? And they're like, yeah, we could bring the Prado, but that was just what the 4Runner was gonna be because they're all on the same global platform and everything now, and it's the same as the GX and everything. And they're like, well, let's just bring what we were gonna make the 4Runner, because the 4Runner's long in the tooth. It's on like a 30-year life cycle right now. I think it's almost 15 years actually. I don't know. But what I would guess was gonna be the 6th gen 4Runner became the Land Cruiser. And so now the 6th gen 4Runner can't be an exact thing as the Land Cruiser because they're both Toyotas, obviously, and there used to be some separation between the GX and the 4Runner. There are two different beasts. Now we have the Land Cruiser back on Toyota, but it's not a real Land Cruiser that's the step up from the 4Runner. It's really in the 4Runner's place. So I really wonder what they're doing with the 6th gen 4Runner. Is it going to be more of a Bronco competitor? It would be weird because Land Cruiser is kind of historically the off-road, it's like Toyota's off-road king. So if they made the 4Runner more off-road capable like a Bronco instead of the Land Cruiser, it'd just be a super weird move. So I don't know what they're doing over there. Probably, you know, they're smarter than me with the market and everything, but I'm very curious to see what the 4Runner is going to be. Is it going to be topless like the old 4Runner? It could harken back to the times of old, and if they did make it topless, they could make it a real Bronco and Wrangler competitor, which would make a lot of sense. But who knows? So maybe the 6th gen 4Runner will be more of a competitor to the Bronco. But the Bronco, again, I just think it looks so sweet. Sorry, it's kind of windy out. Hopefully it's not coming through too much. But doors come off. Map pockets are super weak. Don't love that. But these are all modular, so there's probably aftermarket solutions for this. Like a Wrangler, there's no window controls in the doors. But anyway, like a Wrangler, window control is all here. One thing, it's super minor, but I don't know who designed these. This is another thing, basically anywhere there's a bolt, you've seen all the reviews on these things, you can like swap them out and they're all modular and stuff. And these grab handles are cool. Grab handles everywhere, love them. Some aftermarket ones up here. I love it. But whoever designed this, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show it. There's 3 finger grooves, 3 of them. And if you put your hand in like this, then you're kind of gripping it weird and your pinky's all weird down here, unless you have tiny hands maybe, and that doesn't fit right. Or you grip it maybe with these 2, but then your finger can't fit up here. So I don't know if they never actually like grabbed this thing, but immediately I grabbed it and I was like, oh, finger groove's nice. And I was like, wait a second. These don't actually line up how they should, unless we're like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something. Anyway, weird little nit that I got hung up on for some reason, though this grab handle has no finger grooves. interestingly enough. Seats are nothing to write home about at all. Granted, there's different models, and I'm sure the seats get upgraded and stuff, but this like is a very basic seat. Is it bad? No. Is it good? No. It's got some, these are the manual adjustability and everything like that. Not even close. Doesn't even hold a candle to the Tundra seats, but it is what it is. I think the steering wheel looks pretty good, feels pretty good. All the controls make pretty good sense, though I always hate when volume is left and right instead of up and down, but whatever. Cruise control, all the stuff easy to get to here. I think the gauge cluster is nice. It's got some analog and it's got a digital display in there. Nice little screen over here, wireless CarPlay, everything you'd expect. Twan out a little charger here. Vent layout is good. There's like modular accessories and stuff you can have up here. The windshield is very upright, so it's gonna have all kinds of cracks in it, much like a Wrangler. This has got some chips, some cracks, all kinds of stuff. An insane amount of headroom in here though, so if you're large torsoed, you'll probably be good. I feel like I probably have, I don't know, what is that, 4 inches above. The headroom may be different in, I don't know, yeah, what is that? What is that? What is that, guys? That much. Headroom may be different in the hardtop models, but tons of headroom. Pedals feel fine. Again, the motor, the engine and drivetrain combo, this has the 3.5 or 3.6 liter EcoBoost. Feels very good. Doesn't feel as fast as the Tundra, kind of surprisingly, because it's got a very similar engine to the Tundra, and I would guess this is lighter than the Tundra, but the Tundra feels like it has more pep. And actually EcoBoost F-150s that I've driven feel like they have more pep. My Tundra has 37s though. The EcoBoost F-150s I've driven are on smaller tires and they feel quite fast. My Tundra on 37s feels, just my butt dyno feels faster. The controls, we got some media controls and the HVAC controls. Actually, let me kick this on real quick. I really like this setup. I love the Tundras as well, but this is really nice. It shows right on the display the temperature you have, so if you're in CarPlay or whatever, you can still see some of the stuff and control all of the stuff analog here. So I think this is great. Big knobs, kind of rubbery, texturized. I think they did great with this. Now, it's got chargers. It's got, you know, I've been spending a lot of time here. It's got a pretty small storage compartment here, but you know, it's probably relatively comparable to a Tacoma, maybe a 4Runner. Doesn't hold a candle to Sequoias, obviously, and it's probably about the same size as a Rav as well. Now, where they drop the ball, it's insanity to me, and I'm gonna complain about it even if I'm in the minority of people who still use Nalgene's, but not even remotely close. Now, Nalgene's kind of same size as like a Hydro Flask. You know, if you're making an adventure-oriented truck, I still feel like Nalgene's are pretty popular for people who like doing stuff outside. And it costs no extra money to fit a Nalgene size cup holder in here. It can be done. It is disgusting that manufacturers aren't doing this. Even my Tundra, you know, relatively good sized truck, I can fit one Nalgene in their cup holders, but it's a tight squeeze. I don't understand, like, there's like a whole team. I guarantee there's like a whole team dedicated to cup holders at these big companies. And they can't, like, I don't know. Again, I'm sure there's tons of users this doesn't affect, and maybe they're in the majority, and these engineers can't figure out how to make a cup holder that will take, you know, a smaller, like, sissy size cup and a Nalgene, but it's horrible. It's horrible. Selectors here, great. As far as I know, their traction control is very good. I do like that there's 4 low, 4 high, 2 obviously, and 4A. I am gonna go ahead and assume that's like all time, so it's more of a all-wheel drive, probably a center differential disconnect that makes this better for pavement driving, better for snow on the road driving. I wish trucks incorporated this more often. Neither my Tacoma nor my Tundra have 4 automatic. Living in Colorado, I wish I had this. So this is going to be better in the snow than a Tacoma or a truck for like on-road snow driving. The visibility is okay, nothing stupendous. You're up high. I don't know if you can tell on cameras, everything is up high. So you really like, especially if you're shorter, you're really like peering up over the hood, over the dashboard, all that kind of stuff. And you basically, you know, you wouldn't be able to see anything there. You wouldn't be able to see anything there. That's the case with my Tundra. That's the case with a lot of the newer vehicles that I've driven. You got older vehicles, the hood, you know, and I think it's just an aesthetic thing. This looks mean and aggressive and monstrous, but visibility out of my old Sequoia is infinitely better than the Bronco, but not just the Bronco, a lot of newer vehicles. The slope, how you're sitting, how low everything is, just visibility way better. Ashley's rolling up. These are actually almost the same color. I'll get them here side by side after we get Cooper out of the car and stuff. And then I'll do my RAV4 versus Bronco and then Sequoia versus Bronco. All right, Ashley brought home some dinner. You know that healthy eating I was talking about? Not tonight. Not tonight because we got Panda Express. I have a Dyson back here that I brought from my old house. Tuan has some paintings and a volleyball. So you can ignore some of that. Back seat's okay. It's nothing amazing, but it's not a bad back seat either. Not as cavernous a back seat as the Sequoia, obviously, but cool panels back here. You can lash gear. Again, anywhere there's bolts, you can swap these out for aftermarket accessories. Got some back here. Tiny little map pocket thingy in these doors. At least the back doors have them. Some back doors don't, but most like full-size 4-doors do. So at least it has it. It's not the best. Could be better. But you got some storage under the seats. These will fold and everything. What would be cool in SUVs, I guess they don't do it because they want your things to fold down a little nicer, but I wish they had under backseat storage. One of my favorite things about trucks is you get this whole storage container under your back seat, but almost no SUVs have it. I really wish they did something like that. Like if they did it like the F-150s where it was like a foldable, collapsible storage, something like that would be cool. And then we got the back, which I already talked about. No tailgate, but tailgates are kind of dying breed, I guess. We got the fold out kind of like a GX. That's cool. And yeah, got some room. Got some room back here, but nothing too wild. So yeah, Bronco, think it's sweet. I'm gonna say hi to the family real quick, and then I will do a quick comparison to the RAV4 just because, and the Sequoia, just because before I completely lose light. All right, Sequoia versus the Bronco. Sequoia's got a 2.5 inch lift. Bronco's got a, I think, roughly 3-inch lift. Sequoia's a little taller, though it does have roof racks up there. The wheelbase is very close. Crocs and socks, baby. Very close. I would say, quick guess, they're within an inch of each other. So turning radius is probably pretty similar. Wheelbase, pretty similar. Overall length, though, the Sequoia definitely has a bigger booty back here. Kind of hard to tell. Sequoia right here is a little shorter than the spare tire. Sequoia's spare tire is underneath. So Bronco's definitely shorter, but when you add the spare tire, the back end's about the same. So then you have the front end, pretty similar to Sequoia. Sequoia, I would say, is less than a foot longer in the front. So you got remarkably similarly sized vehicles overall. They're, yeah, I mean, similarly sized vehicles. The Sequoia, though, has a third row seat, bigger overall inside. It's, you know, it's kind of apples to oranges. This is an old vehicle that cost me $7,000, and I threw a cheap lift and 33s on. Much bigger center console. These fit Nalgene's perfectly. The other kind of con about the Bronco is there's only 2 tiny baby cup holders in there. 2 teeny tiny baby cup holders. No cup holders in the back of this. Maybe this thing folds down, but pathetic amount of cup holders. Say it one more time. Pathetic amount of cup holders. Sequoia, we got 2 up here, storage here, storage here. We got 2 more cup holders right there, baby. Good HVAC controls, tons of room. Seats are nothing to write home about, but I got power seats, baby. A little bit of tear there. And second row, way bigger second row. These fold down obviously because there's a third row. I don't have the third row in, but we got 2 more cup holders there, baby. I would say better map pockets back here. We got ashtrays obviously because Cooper's got to be smoking his ciggies. In the back, sweet moonroof DVD player, you know, all the goodies. This isn't like a super serious comparison of them, but since I have it here, I might as well. Now the back is where the business is on the Sequoia. There's actually a little bit of storage under the seats, which I like to see. Not a ton, but a little bit of storage under that second row. And then we have a third row. The third row comes to here. So with the third row in, there's a little less storage than behind the second row of the Bronco, but when the third row's not in, it's massive. So yeah, what I was kind of alluding to earlier also, it's got the roll down rear window, which is amazing for storing stuff. Like here's this little clip. Now stuff like plywood or 12-foot plus, you know, you could do a 16-foot piece of lumber. And the Sequoia are kind of no problem. And obviously since it's older, I don't care as much about it being damaged. So yeah, for me and how, like what I'm looking for, it's much cheaper, kind of beater level price for me. And I don't care if this vehicle gets dinged in a parking lot. I don't care if it gets a little scratched up. I don't care if somebody spills something in the back because it's old and it's relatively beat up. This actually even has a salvage title. It's got dents and dings and scratches. And I love that. I love a vehicle that I just don't really have to care about too much. My GTR in the garage today, my wall of Pelican cases that's been there for months on end. I don't know. There was no way. I don't know what happened. I don't know what. I didn't touch it. I was not even in the garage. It fell, dented, multiple dents and scratches on the GTR. I hate having a nice car, honestly. So this is like my jam. This I wouldn't feel the same about. It'd be a little sketchy, you know. I wouldn't want to beat it. It's made to get beat up, but like little beat up stuff like fast food. This is great when Isabella's having like a party or something and we need to transport like 6 teenage girls or whatever. Boom, Sequoia, easy. I don't care if they mess things up in there, whatever. So this is a perfect vehicle for our uses for the vehicle. 60 miles per gallon, not great. V8 though, can tow, it can store a ton, it just excels. So the Bronco doesn't really replace this in our life because this does everything that I need it to do better. Will it wheel as good? No. Does it look as cool? No. Does it have all the modern amenities? Well, it at least has CarPlay now that I swapped out for a cheap head unit, but no. But for what we needed, it's great. So then we have Ashley's RAV4, obviously a very different vehicle than the Bronco, though pretty similar in color. This is a CUV, not a true SUV. It won't hold a candle to the off-road capability or the cool factor, though I do think it's a pretty cool mom car. Much shorter, kind of much just smaller, much better visibility, better fuel economy, easier to park, but not a ton smaller in length. So this is about lined up here, so you can see a little shorter in the front, and then it's a little shorter in the back with the spare tire. But I would guess, like, without the spare tire, the RAV4 and the Bronco are probably pretty similar in overall length, though the RAV4 is narrower. Wheelbase definitely shorter, so these are pretty close to being lined up. And then you can see the difference there. And again, I know this isn't necessary, but they do both have ditch lights, so they're basically the same vehicle. We got the Prinsu rack on top, KC highlights light bar in the front. But for Ashley really wanted a Bronco. I don't have deep enough pockets to just get her stuff that she wants when she wants them. But we talked about it for a while. I was like, you know, if you really want one, I think they're rad too and wouldn't mind having one in the fleet. But we kind of talked through use cases and what she really wants out of a vehicle. She wants something that does good in the snow, full-time all-wheel drive, rain, snow, whatever. She doesn't have to think about turning any of that stuff on. This will do better on the road in the snow. Smaller tires, so we can put a dedicated snow tire on here. We kind of have a cold weather, well, not, it's kind of an all-season, but like more snow-rated all-season on there. So this does just better on the roads in the snow and the rain and everything. Better fuel economy, like I said. Ashley doesn't like spending a ton of money on gas. Easier, much easier to get Cooper in and out of. Well, I won't show Ashley's car's so dirty, but it's much lower to the ground, obviously. Less ground clearance. Again, it's not going to off-road like the Bronco, but for what Ashley uses it for, easier to get herself in and out of, Cooper in and out of, easier to get groceries, stuff, strollers, whatever, in and out of. Ashley's gonna be mad, but I'll just open it to compare size. So I actually have a tape measure here. We got about, we'll say, I'd say it's about 36, 37 inches inside, all the way up to not even the low point, but the high point of the back seat here. If you go to the low point, really the bottom of the storage, it's even less at about 31, 32 inches. But we'll go to the deepest part of the back here and say we got 36 inches. I can't even get to the deepest part of the RAV4's rear hatch. All right, I moved some crap out of the way. We're not even quite all the way to the bottom, so we gotta add another inch or two on this probably, but we got about, the hatch goes all the way back to that rear compression weather stripping there. So we got, I would say 42, 43 inches of space. So it's kind of not apples to apples. The rear hatch is completely straight across here, so the depth is the same everywhere. This is a little bit rounded. So I was measuring kind of at a split, not the longest point, but not the shortest point. And then the Rav obviously has a sloping rear end, whereas the Bronco's completely straight up. But in some instances, obviously, as you're seeing how she uses the back right now, it kind of fills up this lower section. She actually has more rear cargo space in the Rav than in the Bronco. And she's also got the power tailgate, which is super helpful for her when she has baby and whatnot. So again, we kind of talked through it, and in the end, Ashley came to the realization that she actually much prefers the Rav because it's better for all the things that she truly cares about. When we go off-roading and whatever, we're not taking her vehicle anyway. Now, if she had the Bronco, we could, we're taking one of my several vehicles that are plenty off-road capable and kind of built for it. So the Rav just excels at everything that Ashley's looking for in a vehicle over the Bronco. And then so there you have it for kind of family hauling needs, hauling people, hauling stuff, whatever. This is just a far superior vehicle to the Bronco. And then for just like regular everyday driving duties, the Rav is better. So I wouldn't even say the Bronco fits somewhere in between. It's just on the other spectrum of like, if you want a really cool off-road capable vehicle, or maybe if you just had one SUV, or, you know, you cared a little bit about more about off-road capability and whatnot than practicality, or you like never needed to haul things and never needed a third row, then Bronco's probably your ticket. It's more fun to drive than either of these. It's cooler than either of these. And like I've said a dozen times in this video, more off-road capable. So there you have it. The Ford Bronco. I think it's awesome. I think if I had one vehicle, it'd probably be a truck, honestly. But if we were a 2-vehicle household and we really wanted adventure out of both vehicles, and I don't know what the scenarios would be exactly, but a Bronco would certainly be in the mix. Also, like I said earlier, if I had tons of money, I'd have one as well, just because I think they are sweet. But if you have done all of the pros and cons of this and that and whatever, and you landed on a 4Runner, the Bronco would honestly be a pretty good alternative to a 4Runner. But if you're kind of leaning Rav, it's going to be better at all the things I talked about. So, interested to see what the 6th gen 4Runner is. I really like the new Land. Well, I think in stock form, every vehicle is pretty lame, except I think the Bronco is one of the coolest stock form vehicles that you can get, kind of like a Raptor or whatever. But stock form Land Cruiser, the new one, 2024, the GX550, doesn't do a ton for me, but a little bit of modifications. I've seen a bunch of renders, and they are pretty sweet. So we'll see if the GX or something is any better than the Rav. It checks more boxes than the Rav. Or if Ashley doesn't love daily driving the Sequoia. It's a little, I don't know, she just doesn't, you know, the Rav's better than the Sequoia for what she does. But we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Let me know your thoughts down below. Again, I'll leave links for everything down below that I talked about. And yeah, thanks for sticking around for this random video. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, real quick, because I'm going to post this before Overland Expo Mountain West, but I will be there, not with any of these vehicles. I will be in Diamondback Covers booth. If you have Instagram, go check out my Instagram down below, because I'll probably post updates and kind of times that I'll be places there. But I'm going to have my Tacoma in Diamondback Covers booth. I'm going to have my Tundra in Toyo Tires booth. And I'm going to have the GTR with a rooftop tent on it in iCamper's booth. So I'll be kind of floating around those companies' booths and kind of floating around all weekend. So that's in Colorado. It's whatever this coming weekend is. Maybe it starts on the 26th or the 25th. I'm not sure. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, last weekend in August. Check it out. If you're around, I'll be there. And again, I'll post some more detailed information over on Instagram. Sweet. All right. Well, until next time, guys, take care.